History's greatest mysteries. Roanoke, Troy, the curse of Oak Island, and why our socks disappear from the dryer. These mysteries have confused historians and befuddled the people for centuries. One historical mystery, though, is commonly believed to have been explained. Who was the killer of famed civil rights activist Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? As Socrates probably once said, the best way to find the answer to a question is to ask, so I did just that. Who killed Martin Luther King Jr.?
What?
Who killed Dr. King?
What?
MLK.
What?
Who killed Martin Luther King Jr.?
Wait, do I rush on all? Oh.
Who killed Martin Luther King Jr.?
I'm not sure. Are you even in this class?
My results were inconclusive, so in lieu of interviewing more people, I decided to instead Google the answer. According to Google, the killer was either James or Ray, or some kind of large organization. But what large organization would want Dr. King dead? Based on all of the evidence I've collected on the case, the most likely answer is the United States government. The first and foremost issue is that the supposed shooter was already found guilty on the charge of assassinating Dr. King. However, Ray's role in the killing is doubtful at best. The biggest witness of the case, a man named Charles Stevens, was a notorious alcoholic. Stevens' drinking habits were so well known that he had earned the nickname Bay Rum Charlie Stevens. His own wife would testify that he was too drunk at the time of the assassination to have possibly remembered or even seen the face of Ray. In fact, Stevens is the only witness to ever claim hearing a shot from the supposed bathroom that Ray fired from. Most witnesses claim to have heard the shot from the bushes outside of the boarding house. Ms. Stevens, Miss Brewer, and Mr. Locke, all residents of the boarding house, claim to have heard the shot from outside. Solomon Jones, who was with Dr. King at the time of the shooting, testifies that he saw someone leave the brush immediately after the shot was fired. Not only is the eyewitness testimony surrounding Ray's guilt in question, but the possibility of Ray killing King is in question as well. Corroborating the bush theory, studies done by experts in ballistics have shown that an alternate shooter is possible. Bullet tracing tests have revealed that Dr. King could have been killed by a shot coming from either the boarding house or the bushes outside. Furthermore, bullet marking tests could not determine whether or not the bullet had been fired from Ray's rifle, making a different rifle entirely possible. To add on to this, making a shot at King's head from the boarding house window would have been extremely difficult at best and borderline impossible at worst. Footprints in the bathtub show that Ray would have been standing up while he took the shot. Additionally, there were tree branches in front of the window that Ray supposedly fired from. Ray would have had to take a standing rifle shot through a window, through tree branches, and directly into Dr. King's head. As with all murder cases, a motive needs to be established. Why would the government kill Martin Luther King Jr.? The government and Dr. King were not in good standing with each other. King and the FBI in particular were like water and oil, or the CIA in morality. Throughout the 1960s, the FBI ran an operation called COINTELPRO, designed to infiltrate what they viewed as radical political organizations. Part of this operation involved a letter sent to Dr. King by the FBI calling him a fraud and encouraging him to kill himself. This clearly shows that the FBI had intent to end Dr. King's life, placing a motive for the government to kill King. Every conspiracy theory needs a good cover-up, and cover-up the US government did. Photos from the day of the assassination show a tree in front of the window Ray was accused of firing from. That same tree was cut down the day after the shooting. It would have had to have been the MPD or some other government organization who cut it down, because the boarding house would have been protected under an active investigation. Additionally, the wife of the main witness who had discredited Stevens by exposing his inebriation was illegally institutionalized by the FBI. She had no previous history of mental illness or psychiatric problems. She would later win her freedom from the hospital, proving that she was admitted without due process. Furthermore, Ed Reddit, a police detective assigned to protect Dr. King, was warned by the Memphis Police Department of a threat on his life. As a result of this, Reddit was forced to stay home rather than protect King. The assassination attempt was later found to have been faked, and no real attempt was made on Reddit's life. To mark these all as coincidences would be absurd. Choosing to believe that Dr. King's death was caused by a lone gunman takes more leaps in justification than the idea that his death was the result of a conspiracy. While I can't claim to be the #1 expert on this assassination, the evidence that I've gathered seems to reveal a government conspiracy. The evidence pointing towards Ray is minute in comparison to the evidence pointing towards the FBI. One has to take an enormous leap of faith placed in the government to identify Ray as the killer. It appears that the most probable killer of Martin Luther King Jr. is the United States government, likely a joint operation by the FBI and the Memphis Police Department.